Okay, hello, welcome to the voiceover of this video because I was watching a series when I was recording this. So, series of 3 colors that I'm going to use to sketch those things. Pause the video if you want to see all the details about the colors. But basically, there are like 2 blues and a very nice yellow, quinacridone yellow-ish, let's say. And yeah, the plan is to use only this as color to replicate something that I saw on Instagram the other day. That I find very fascinating. It was this kind of, I guess, rice field, something like that. But I really loved the fact that the sky was kind of like there was all this white space all around the sky. I really, really, really like that. And it seems to be done just using the water and had the color freely going around the water. So the idea is to use my pencil to sketch it just a little bit to have an idea. And there are videos of the same series of these 3-color palette paintings. I usually do 5 minutes of sketching with my pencil, 5 minutes of inking. But in this case, it doesn't make any sense to do the inking because, you want to keep this kind of loose sketch feeling. So what I do with my pencil is just to create shapes where I think it's needed. So like the skyline with those trees that was very dark. And then this kind of field that emerged with the water that has those little highland of grass, or if it's a rice field, I guess it would be rice. Yeah, right? So basically that's it in terms of the pencil. And I think the more you leave it, out of the imagination, is one of those situations in which the color will decide where to go, and basically you have no control over anything on this kind of sketch. So the color that I wanted to use are those 3, but of course if you mix them together you can have nice greens, as you can see here. And the whole idea came from that blob of color that you see there, because I thought, oh, that's a cool combination. It looks like water on a sunset or water on a plum, how does it call in English, where there is a lot of water and also mold. I don't know. Well, write down in the comment as usual if you know what I'm talking about. So here I'm applying water with this fancy brush that it's too soft, and this was my first mistake for this thing, because it's definitely too soft and it gets so much water. So the idea when you do wet on wet is that you have like the color will be dry, and then the water is on the paper. But the issue is that this specific brush that I'm using, it retains a lot of water. Seriously, it's like a sponge. So it was super hard to control how much water I want in the paper, and I was trying very hard to understand, okay, maybe I put some color here and there, and it wasn't working. So at some point I just give up, because sometimes in watercolor you just give up. You're like, okay, I put colors there, it's fine, it's gonna spread everywhere, and okay. Then I realized, okay, let's add the darkest color, for making the line, and nothing was working. This color was going everywhere, and I was started panicking. Because, when color goes everywhere, you have no control, and you're like, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? When this happened, the only thing you should do, that is something that I'm not doing in this video, is to just stop, let it go, let it dry, and then do something. But no, I was so determined to try to fix the idea that I had in my mind for this piece, that it wasn't matching what I had in my paper. But I decided to keep the recording anyway, because I'm like, I don't want to give this fake idea that everything is perfect and everything works perfect. No, sometimes watercolor piss you off. Sometimes they do all the time they do what they want. But sometimes specifically they do whatever they want, and you feel the struggle, okay? But the best part is when you realize, okay, let's stop to try to control this mess, and let's just go with the flow. So let's add a little bit darker blue here and there to make a difference between, you know, the sky and the water situation that is in the field. And when you reach these P's on your brain and you start to go with the flow, you're like, okay, it's good. It's getting better, you know? It's getting better. The reality for me, though, is that I get super pissed and I'm like, no, I want to fix it anyway. Not a good idea. But anyway, then I let it dry, and my plan, because I was like, oh, that's a clever idea. Let's make the grass yellow, you know. Let's challenge the color scheme. I've done it in other things, and it was fun because, you know, always the grass is green and you're thinking, okay, maybe I can make it in another color. But then it didn't make any sense because, you know, yellow plus blue, usually it gives you like beach vibe, desert vibe, but then there is water, so it's more beach. So I was really like, yeah, I don't like this idea of using the yellow for the grass. I think if I would do this again, maybe I would have used the yellow for the sky and then the blue for the grass. Because then, of course, the sky can't be yellow. It's just, it gave you these warm vibes. But yeah, when I was doing this, I wasn't thinking that straight because, yeah, water was spreading my color everywhere. It was in one day that no control. But I kept going because, you know, one of the things was like, hey, you know, the sky looks so nice. I need to create some sort of line or break between the sky and you know, the ground. Because usually that happens when you look farther away on a panorama, you will see, you know, that there is some sort of line that is like clearer color, and I want to replicate that. But of course, like I was using a dumb brush, super wet brush. The water again was going wherever it want. So clearly I didn't learn from my mistake in this exact same, you know, paint. So then, as clever as I am, I was like, yeah, you know what? Now we're going to add the blue and it will be beautiful, without realizing that the paper is still too wet. So the blue was spreading around in again, an uncontrolled way. And I couldn't have that crispy feeling of some trees spreading around. But I kept going anyway. Again, it's you know, it's about having a nice time. It's 15-minute sketch. You don't really need to care when you're going to do these kind of things. Just go with the flow, okay? The yellow of your grass go on the sky, it doesn't matter. The blues spreading everywhere, it doesn't matter. It's watercolor. You can always reactivate with water and try to do things. Even here, that I was trying to create some grass, I should have just let it dry and then add the grass. But no, I was like, yeah, I want to keep moving. So, but again, it's watercolor. So if you realize that you make a mistake because your grass is spreading everywhere, it doesn't seem like grass anymore. You just use water to clean it up and it's going to be gone. So yeah, going back to the water, I wanted to recreate the same thing that is in the other piece before. So I add a little bit of green, and well, if you know how to make green, you just take whatever blue you have, whatever yellow you have, you mix them together, and then you have, well, the greenish thing that you see on my palette. I have two blues, one that is very dramatic and the other one that is super bright. The thing is that the super bright one is going to give you a super bright green that I didn't like for this piece because I want more dramatic effect. So I just add the yellow even more, and I use the darkest blue, the pine blue, to make it, you know, a more desaturated, not that much pop green. And I think it looks very nice on the palette, but then in the piece it's going to look way better, and you'll see in a moment. Because at this time, I didn't realize yet that the yellow wasn't good for this idea. But at least I realized that, hey, if I let it dry, it's going to be easier to make those trees that I have in my mind, you know, for the skyline. And one thing about the brush, you see this very fancy Japanese brush. The thing is that this brush requires a lot of control because the brush itself, it's super soft. So since it's super soft, it needs just a little bit of pressure, and the color is gonna spread everywhere. So think about this when you're doing, if you're at the beginning, think about the brush. I think for the beginning, it's way better to have a brush that it's not soft, because it gives you more stability, and it's just easier to control, because even if you put a lot of pressure in a brush that is not soft, well, the brush itself is going to stay in the same shape. It's not going to spread around. It's not going to spread around the colors that much. So yeah, no, don't use fancy, super expensive brush, especially if you're at the beginning. Just go with whatever regular brush you can find on whatever store, like Tiger, or like I bought mine at Tiger. Well, not those one, but the one that I usually at Tiger, or like an hobby store that sells them. Finally, though, going back to the painting, I realized, wait, yellow doesn't make sense. Let's layer some green on top. And I have to say that having the yellow as a base and then adding the green on top, it was one of those mistakes that ended up being actually, I don't know, I have the feeling that it's a good idea at the end. Like, it was completely mistaken. Don't think that I was actually thinking about what I was doing. But the thing is that, see how the green mixed with the yellow, and there is this cool mix of color that makes you feel like that is actual grass. You know, when you look at the grass, it's never just green, you know. It's a little bit green, a little bit brown, a little bit yellowish, brownish. And so having the first layer as yellow and then going on top of that with the green, eventually I was actually pretty happy about the color result. And to be honest, was the only reason I kept this video, because I was like, you know what, this color actually make so much sense in this environment. It gives this kind of dreaming effect, kind of a story. Like, it seems like, oh, it's a very nice day, and maybe there is somebody hiding in the forest, or maybe there is somebody that fell into the water because they didn't realize that there was water after the forest. Beautiful thought. By the way, subscribe. I would say comment whatever you want, but it doesn't make any sense. So please, in the comment one of the usual mistake that you make, or one of the most common mistakes that you do. Like, for me, is like not waiting for the water, for example, for the paper to be dry, for example. Because I really want to hear, like, what are the common mistakes, so I don't feel lonely and thinking that I'm the only one that are making those mistakes most of the time. So yeah, going back to the painting, it wasn't like that deep enough to my view. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna add some shadow, completely randomic, every now and then, to make the idea of the ground, you know. When you look at grass, there is the grass that is super green, and then there is the ground that is darker color. And I think it's nice to have it both, you know, to make it a little bit more kind of realistic. And then I was like, yeah, let's add because in my mind this is a rice field, okay? So let's add the rice thingy. That, I don't know if you have ever been on a rice field. On a rice field, the rice plant itself, it's super green. Like, it's a pop bright green. It's insane how green the rice is. But in my painting, no, it needs to be dark for some reason, because I was like, yeah, let's make it everything cohesive and kind of dark-ish. So now it doesn't seem a rice anymore. It seems more like a swamp, I think it's in English, right? So yeah, what I was thinking would be in a rice field, then it become a swamp, I guess. I hope that the word is swamp, because otherwise you're gonna love listening to this video. But as usual, I learn English by myself. So yeah, you know, just let it go. Or correct me in the comment. By the way, thank you for, I don't remember the name of whoever suggested me that the mouth of a bird, it's beak, I guess it's how to pronounce it. And in Italian, it's becco. So it actually makes so much sense and it's easy to remember. But yeah, here I just added more details because when you panic in watercolor, at least that's what I do, it's like, okay, let's add more, okay? And then I was like, you know what, to make it even better, let's add a little bit of ink in with this amazing Pentel brush pen that I have with waterproof ink. And then after 2 seconds, I realized, okay, just let's sign this thing. Let's add the date of the painting so I remember for future references. And let's call it a day. And to be honest, I seriously think that the sky, it's super beautiful. Like, even if there were so many mistakes on this piece, 15-minute sketch, really liked it. Hope you like it as well. And yeah, see you. Check out the others video if you want. Bye.